Perfect. So before we get started, let's stand up if you believe in cross-functional cooperation in some sort of way. If you have ever collaborated with somebody a bit different from yourself. Perfect. Now you can sit down again. So it's most of you, and it's a lot of you. So welcome, and thank you for spending the time in this track with us. So my name is Torstein. I'm a content strategist and a concept developer at Gjensidige, and this is a few of my colleagues.
As you might have guessed, I'm Marthe. I'm a consultant at Trygg, and I work as a design lead in one of the product teams at Gjensidige.
Hey everyone, as you may have figured out, I am then Kristian. I'm the tech lead for the design system at Gjensidige.
Great. So as Jostein was telling, this is live cross-functional collaboration. This is an island, and imagine yourself at this island.
It's a bit warmer than here.
And you may think, in this case, that up on the right-hand corner, we have a developer making sausage, a designer looking idly by, making sure everything is spick and span, the project leader who's running in the background, making sure the backlog is exactly as you want it to be. And of course, we have our UX writer, making sure that the message coming across is crisp and clear. But not all days are sunny. You may find yourself in a situation where everything is not going according to plan. Perhaps you have a bug in production.
Yeah, or it could be something completely different. You could find yourself in a room with an elephant. And as you probably know, elephants, they're not great in rooms.
Or perhaps you're in a room with a hippo.
Yeah, and for those of you who followed this entire track, you know what it is, but for the rest of you?
It's the highest paid person's opinion.
And as you may have guessed, in this setting, our islands are product teams. And together, we create a lot of different services in Gjensidige. We have something like
Gjensidige.no, and we also have a lot of apps. For instance, when you log in. But this isn't only in Norway. We also do the same in Sweden and in Denmark. What else?
Yeah, we're in Estonia, in Latvia, and Lithuania. And we do a lot of other stuff as well, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah. So our islands, they serve a lot of different customer segments in different business areas. And let's say that all of these only work for themselves. What could happen then?
Yeah, let's do some simple math. You're good at math, Kristian.
Yeah, I'll try. OK, so let's say that one app has 30 components.
And a component could be like a button, a drop-down, or an input field.
And that each island has the responsibility for 5 apps. Then we're up to 150 components.
That's 150 buttons, drop-downs, and input fields.
And then you have 11 different islands. And we're suddenly up to 1,650 components.
What?
1,650 buttons, drop-downs, input fields, whatever.
What if I need to change all of them in order to be compliant to universal design, for instance?
Or that someone perhaps think it's wise to have measurements across your applications so you know what the users actually do. Just consider for a second how that will feel like to be a part of.
Yeah, probably something a bit like this. And in this example with universal design, this might also be your customer, because she wouldn't be able to complete her task.
Yeah. And Torstein, you guys, you started resolving this issue a decade ago.
Yeah. So we developed this entire profile, and we set out to make it easier for our users to complete their tasks, so it was no longer about us, it was about them. But then we figured a few years back, actually last year, that there must be a better way also within the organization. So what if this model that we have applied to our product teams working outside the organization and bringing the customers in, we mirrored it and used it on ourselves.
So our story begins, basically, we already have a design system, and we're now going to figure out, is it working inside our organization, and how can we make it work?
Yeah.
So in the same way that we always try to meet our customers, deliver value to them, we were looking inside and thinking, how can we deliver value to our users, our design system users? And we know this already. We use the design process. We have that. And we started going exploring, let's say in a boat, visiting an island. And on that island, we have UX writers, UX designers, testers, analysts, developers, product owners. You're many people, and all these people have different needs, different things that they really wish for. And if you zoom out, we're many islands. We're actually more than 300 people creating digital products. And when you zoom out, you see that some patterns emerge. So as a designer, I wish I had some examples of how to use the different components. If I come in as a consultant, I need to know how flexible can I be on this button? Or do I have any restrictions? I also wish that both designers and developers could work and look at the component library, because its current version, we're only for our developers. We also wish there was an easier way of creating and sharing components. We were doing that inside the teams, but not across them. As well, analysts and developers wish there was an easier way of adding those measurements to our components. This was done component by component in a very manual way. We also wish there was an easier way to collaborate on solving tasks together. So in my team, we're actually in Oslo and in Bratislava as well. So it's not only inside the teams, it's not across teams, it's always across countries as well. And speaking of different countries, we wanted documentation that everyone could understand. So we wish it was in English as well. So we took the boat back, right? And what did we do?
Yeah. So we went back to the island, the design system island, which is in the center of the archipelago, and we figured out how do we actually deliver value to our users, the other islands, and the other teams. So it's design system documentation, and it's in English. For us, that's important. It's a component library for both designers and developers, and it's the same. And we reduce the total number of components. So we have fewer components with higher quality, and it's easier to make change and easier to increase quality, and we free up time to do more exciting stuff than to make components. And of course, this is our story, so what works for us doesn't necessarily work for you.
So now that we know how to deliver value, we need to figure out how we can do it together. And this story starts by doing what Michael Jackson once did. You start by looking the man in the mirror. So let's go in. Let's see. What do we have here? Our design system was working, but it didn't work across. We knew what we had to do to change it. But let's be honest. When you have something that feels kind of like this, it's not that easy to give it to Marthe and make her collaborate with you.
Thank you. No.
I saw you, Kristian.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do was take a good step back and make something that felt completely different. We wanted something that felt like this. Yeah. In this particular case, you want to take the design system home with you. You want to nurture it. You want it to grow up and have a nice life. So we had to start doing something like that. And the best way of doing that is actually by testing continuously what works and what doesn't. And of course, by triggering the value points for all your different user groups. So we started out with the designers. Yeah. And we wanted to empower them with the infrastructure for co-creation across teams. And Marthe, how did we do that?
How many use Sketch? Cool. I do too. And the other designers as well. And we had a file sharing system for Sketch files, but it didn't make us able to collaborate on it. So we have Sketch, but on top of Sketch, we have Abstract. And it looks like this. So in Abstract, you have instance access to all the components at the Gjensidige. And we can collaborate on it with both editors and developers. So we can comment on it and do changes all the time. So this is an example of some of our components. You can also work with it like you have one thing, and you can branch it and then merge it together, so you can work on the same file at the same time. And if you know someone is doing something really good, maybe like a teammate in another team, a person in another team, you can go and you can see what they're doing and adapt that to your own file or workflow. I'm working with forms, so this is just a concrete example of a form with buttons, and I can easily update it with one click if something changes.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is a component library that works for designers, which is nice, but we needed something that works for developers as well. And here you see a lot of logos. How many here are technical? Up with your... Yeah, OK. I'm not going to delve too deep, so let me just say, we use Git internally, so our design system is in Git. This is the logo for React. How many have heard about it? Just raise your hands. Very good. Our developers use React, so we deliver the design system components in React. Clever, right? And last but not least, most of us develop with Node Package Manager, so we have them versioned as well. So when we make a change, we can push that on update, and you can just update it in your application, which is great. But enough talk about how it looks. Let's see how it works. So let's say I want to import a primer button into my project. I import it, and I get the developer experience right away. It's nothing worse than that. And I can see how it works. I know which parameters I can change. I want to make this button blue. I just write border color, and I get all the attributes. It's pretty easy. And yeah, you get help along the way. So now that I want to add just a loading ticker, so in this case, someone has pressed the button, and it's loading. You want a server response first. It's just a parameter away. Pretty easy. And this is when you use the component library. What you really want, though, is how we create it together. And this is something else. This is on Git. What you see behind me here is basically the documentation for how to get started on collaborating on the design system. And this is available for everyone. I'm going into a checkbox right here. And this is the automated documentation that goes directly from the source code. This is available for designers and developers. And yes, this is live. You can test and see how it works in real time, and your developers are empowered and not frustrated when trying to use it. What you're seeing now is pull requests on this particular repository that we have internally. And this is all my colleagues and talented developers across our different islands who are making the design system better together, which is kind of nice. But here I am explaining how it works. And I'm not going to be here all day. And that's the same for my colleagues. So we needed somewhere to document this. So we made a website for it. It's called Gjensidige Design. It's a documentation for the design system. And when you go in there, you can find everything you need to know about the component library. And basically, you can get started without any trouble yourself. So if you're a developer, here's the link to Git. That's kind of nice. Then you know how to start. If you are a designer, here's a link to Abstract, so you know how to start if you want to collaborate and make some changes. And we also provide good detailed documentation per component that's cross-functional. So designers, developers, product managers, everyone can go in and see what we have. So to sum it all up, this is how we co-create value. We have adapted our design system to work in our organizational context. Yes, our designers and developers are empowered by it, not constrained by it. That's very important. We make sure that when you use it, it gives almost instant value, and that it's very easy to change and document. This last part, don't forget it. Everything in the design system is moving all the time. And of course, you can do exactly like we do, but I'm guessing that in your organization, things will be different. If you have designers who are more into Figma, let them use Figma. If you are doing Angular apps only, do it in Angular. Yeah. So that's a lot of technical stuff, but let's remember, guys, we are people.
Yeah, we certainly are, and by the looks of it, so are you guys. So let's do some stuff to make room for collaboration between people as well. Infrastructure, it's important, it's great, but it's not enough. So we're back at the islands, but let's revisit this design system island. So it's kind of a resort feel to it. So we need to be sort of hospitable and make it easy for people to visit. So we have this small boat, and you're able to bring whatever. So if you were in a room and discovered an elephant, bring it along and we'll talk to you about it. Bring the hippos, bring the skaters, bring everybody. And you can come and work, or you can come and play. So what is the best use of this red ball? Who knows? Let's figure it out. If you need to fly in from Denmark or the Baltics, please, you're welcome. And obviously, it's not just make-believe and nice cartoons. It's real people doing real work. And again, it's technology. So this is Wake. It's kind of like Pinterest for the enterprise. So we're able to share images and comment on them. And this is actually the new sketch update, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the button scales based on the input, like the text input. And this is seamlessly integrated.
Yeah. So when this update arrived, we could share it here and just make sure that all our designers knew that we were taking it into the design system and the update is now readily available for use.
Yeah. And going back to the design system documentation at Gjensidige Design, it's workflow and tools. It's not just component library. So this is actually where the design process lives. This is its home. It's the tools we use, and it's the workflow for designers, for developers, for editors, etc., which is obviously great for onboarding, but it's also great for getting to know your colleagues better. This is why this is taking so long. This is why this is complicated. So it's easier to plan, and it gives us a broader perspective of our fellow teammates and islanders.
And you may find yourself in rough weather again. Yes, it's a loud sound. Because on a stormy day, it might be nice to refer to the documentation of how your role is actually meant to play out if you're in a room with a hippo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if I'm on an island and I really need help, it's really nice. Like, first I have to say I have a problem, and then it's really nice that you can come, right?
Yeah. So, of course, the design system team, we got our island and people are welcome. But at the same time, we have this rescue vessel. So we're able to come and visit the different teams at different stages in their frustration or happy times. So, yeah, so far it's been good.
So zooming out, and our big islands, our big island landscape. Everything seems like before, but underneath the surface, something has changed. We have some infrastructure that allows us to co-create and collaborate. So,
yeah. To sum up this last section, how do we make room for collaboration? First of all, make it easy to visit the design system team, even if that team is just one person. She needs to be available. Get to know each other. We're all people, so just not get to know your fellow islanders on your island, but across all islands and across all teams. And be available to everybody, even in rough weather.
So this is how we improve collaboration through this, our design system. And you can improve that as well. And you can do that by defining how you deliver value to your users.
Defining how you are able to co-create it.
And last but not least, really, this is really important, make room for collaboration. So thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience.